Lego, are you crazy? What are you doing going out there and making a Montreal Canadiens free agency target video rather than talking about Game 7? And the reason behind that is very simple. Game 7, which will be happening later today at 4:30 p.m. PST, is going to happen later today. And I do not want to come out here and make a doom and gloom, oh, it was a great season, that's it, we gotta wrap it up here, folks, kind of video. I don't want to get any sort of emotion out there into the universe that indicates that we are ready for things to be over. If things finish, and if the Canadiens lose Game 7, then we'll make our video talking about how it was a great season, etc., etc. But I don't want to put that energy out into the world just yet. So with that said, let's focus on the what could be's of Montreal's long-term future, and dive into some names that have been talked about as to being linked to other NHL teams. We're talking today about Anaheim Ducks defenseman Jacob Trouba, and the idea proposed on The Athletic that the Montreal Canadiens should go out there and get this guy. Take a look at this post made on the Habs sub by Mr. Edmo. It's from The Athletic's recent article, NHL Free Agent Targets, one player each team should sign this offseason. And the write-up by Arpon Basu lists Jacob Trouba as Montreal's guy. Take a look at the profile right here. Trouba is 32 years old, 6'3", 212, a right-handed defenseman making $8 million a year. He has been making $8 million a year the past 7 years, and this is the final year of that contract. Admittedly, this guy's not making 8 on his next deal. Like, I'm sorry, Jacob Trouba, it must be awesome for you to have earned $70 million in total career earnings, but when you consider the fact that Trouba was more so just okay in Winnipeg for a time, he ended up getting 50 points in 2018-19, which is what led to him getting that humongous contract with the Rangers in the first place. And then, as the years went on, he started producing more points, he started racking up more penalty minutes, he ended up with a C on his jersey for whatever reason. And then last year, things kind of took a turn for the worse, where it was like, hey, wait a minute, rumors have come out that the Rangers are trading Jacob Trouba over to the Detroit Red Wings. They're getting rid of their captain, this entire thing is going down. And then it didn't go down. Jacob Trouba stuck around in New York a little bit past expiration, and a lot of people were questioning whether or not this guy actually was going to get moved, what happened to him, and whether or not there was any sort of fallout between him not allowing a trade to Detroit to go through versus the Rangers actually having a trade on the table. It was an up and down thing. But give it a few months into last season, and Jacob Trouba inevitably does get moved, this time to the Anaheim Ducks, where he finishes off 24-25, scoring 8 points in 53 games. He had a total of 14 points in 77 games on this season, which is absolutely terrible. It's the worst season that Jacob Trouba had ever had. He had never scored fewer than this amount of points in that amount of games played. His 12-point season had 38 games attached to it, so this season was automatically better. But leave it to Jacob Trouba, a former NHL captain and a former 50-point guy, to really bounce back with the Anaheim Ducks this season. 35 points in 81 games played, 10 goals, 25 assists. He really bolstered up this Anaheim blue line. And when it comes to the kind of guys that Pat Verbeek likes to hold on to, yeah, he's got those rough and tough physical forwards up front. He's got stable bodies like Leo Carlsson, Beckett Seneca, big dudes like Cutter Gauthier, players who play big like Mason McTavish and Ryan Poehling. And then on the back end, you had Jacob Trouba, you have the captain Radko Gudas, who ended up injuring Austin Matthews, you have John Carlson, the addition of him. Lots of big physical guys on the Anaheim Ducks, and Trouba was able to add on to that, multiple years after being rumored to have gone to Detroit, only for that trade to actually fall through. Now, Arpon Basu is writing about how the Canadiens should be going out there and getting Trouba for their team next season. This pick is more in theory than in practice, because the Canadiens tried hard at the trade deadline to add a physical right-shot D-man. With the uncertain status of prospect David Reinbacher and the continued right-left imbalance on their blue line, a player such as Trouba on a short to medium-term contract would be helpful. Trouba himself is unlikely to sign with Montreal, but he represents a profile they should be after. Now, that's a great way to end off the article, isn't it? Oh yeah, this player might not actually be interested in coming over to the Habs, but he should be a Hab. He's the kind of guy the Habs should go out there and get. And I'll say this right here. You could have convinced me maybe a year ago that the quote-unquote uncertainty of a guy like David Reinbacher was enough to push the Canadiens to acquire a right-handed defenseman. But that's exactly what they did a year ago. They got Noah Dobson. Now, we're using the same argument of David Reinbacher's uncertainty to say that a guy like Jacob Trouba should be on Montreal's radar. Now, I don't know about you, but I was actually decently impressed with what David Reinbacher did in a Canadian sweater in the 2 games that he had played earlier this year. He had scored his first NHL point, and he actually looked really solid. Now, I'm not implying that I expect David Reinbacher to provide solid NHL-level defending for 82 games next season, but I do have my reservations on the idea that Jacob Trouba is only necessary because we don't know what Reinbacher is capable of. Maybe if you sign Trouba or a physical right-handed defenseman to a 1 or 2 year deal, I can be more on board with that. But Trouba is 32. I don't necessarily know if he'd be interested in a very short-term deal on a rebuilding Habs team. Like it or not, I understand the Canadiens are literally doing well in the playoffs this year, but they're kind of ahead of schedule. This Habs team is still quote-unquote developing. They are just exiting that rebuild. David Reinbacher is very much a key cog in that rebuild scenario, and I wonder if holding him back by adding an extra right-handed defenseman is the right move. With that said, there are a number of our Habs subreddit folks that go out there and share their opinions about this Trouba thing as well. Last summer it was Crosby. Are we going to have a Trouba summer? I hope not. By the way, we have a game tomorrow. Why are we talking about aging D-men? Because he would bring what the Habs don't have: physicality. Right now, the Canadiens have Arbor Xhekaj, who plays like 8 minutes a night, and Josh Anderson isn't as physical in this series for whatever reason. Another comment says, screw that, I don't want him anywhere near the Canadiens. I've hated him for years. He's a dirty player, he hits heads, he throws elbows, he's been suspended and fined a handful of times for dirty stuff. I never want to cheer for that type of player, and I see him doing nothing positive for the locker room vibe that's been so carefully curated. Run from players like Trouba. I don't care that he holds his stick in the certain side of his body. Hell no. He already left a Canadian team because his wife is a doctor and doesn't want to practice here. Even if he wanted to, he can't. So it does seem like Canadiens fans are not interested in the idea of Jacob Trouba. Actually, Scrubadam says, yeah, I would take him. Need to plan for Carrier's exit since his contract is up next year. And though not the same side, this would allow Gouli to be included in a trade, and we now know based on trade deadline rumors that Gouli is a valued player across the league. Dobson, Hudson, Matheson, Trouba, Carrier, Struble, Engstrom. That's 9 guys fighting for 7 to 8 spots on a blue line. I think you can mix and match any of those last 5 guys with having the flexibility to trade some of them if needed. Interesting element to that, eh? Jacob Trouba in, Caden Gouli out, Jacob Trouba in, David Reinbacher out. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this Jacob Trouba thing. Obviously, we will be paying attention to Montreal-Buffalo Game 7, which will be going on later today. We'll make a post-game video about it no matter what happens, but for now, I didn't want to focus on the doom and gloom and the inevitable heartbreak it seemed Canadiens fans were preparing themselves for. Let's talk about rumors, shall we? Thoughts in the comment section below about Anaheim Ducks defenseman Jacob Trouba heading over to Montreal in free agency. Do you think it's worth it? Do you think it's not? I hope you enjoyed this Swedish Astros 99. And Bye.